looking out for themselves, and that's a reality as a people in Nigeria. And when you study the trend of what we have been seeing so far, especially under the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when he came up, since he came up, came on as president, got the mandate of the people as the GCF, and as, of course, the chief executive, his plans, his policy, his directory, and the way he has been moving, there have been some concerns from some persons, some quarters in the north, accusing the president of, not looking after the interest of the northern Nigeria well enough. They talk about the poverty in the place, the disaster management, acumen of the president with the recent flaws that we have seen in the place, especially, very importantly, the insecurity ravaging the country, particularly the north, which one might say is not new. Since 2014 or 2013, we have been battling with this issue of banditry, kidnappings. Almost every regions of the country, geopolitical zones have something worrying them, challenging them as far as security is concerned. But then that call from the north has been, is following a pattern right now. And some persons have been asking, is it because we have a southern president? Some of these concerns are not just there. They didn't just start now. Why are you making these about the north? Now, the issue of appointment is another thing in which many persons feel that very key positions are not really being to the people of the north. Yes, we have some of them and all of these. Now, the latest is the Arewa Consultative Forum, the strong body who speaks for the interest of the north in a kind of way, and had their meeting, and they said that the northern Nigeria is being pushed to the wall amid worsening security, poverty, and environmental challenges. And the forum gave the warning during its 78th National Executive Committee meeting held in Kaduna. The ACF chairman, Mallam Yusuf, who addressed the gathering, said the north could no longer afford to remain silent in the face of escalating crises confronting the region. Let me quote him. He said, "This is not a time for the north to fold its arms and watch while things continue to deteriorate. Our security situation is worsening, the resources of the region are being exploited, and environmental problems are mounting. We must rise and unite to defend the region." They said we have lost children, young men and women, and the elderly to floods, disasters, criminals, and terrorists. The state of affairs is deeply troubling. That is why I call for sober reflection and prayers. Then, speaking to newsmen, the ACF advisor Bashir Ayatu Gentile explained that the forum had thoroughly examined the challenges troubling the north and resolved that urgent action was needed. He talked about kidnappings, killings everywhere, and the ACF resolved that the north must unite and pressure the government to intensify efforts to address these pressing challenges. Some of these has been said, and of course we further the conversation. We have with us somebody who will speak on this morning, and he has joined us virtually to be a part of this conversation. Mallam Baba Yusuf is our guest this morning to speak on this matter. Mallam Yusuf is a strategist, policy advisor, public intellectual, and the group CEO, Global Investment and Trade Company. He joins us via Zoom. Good morning, Mallam.
Thank you very much, Femi and Daniel, for having me. It's good to be here.
You are welcome. The North, in a kind of way, have spoken again through the ACF, and they have reeled out their concern, and they are saying the North is being pushed. What is your impression of this development?
Well, it is true that the sordid reality of the North is very concerning and worrisome, in terms of insecurity, in terms of multidimensional poverty, and in terms of our, dilapidating infrastructure, and a very, very worrisome situation of our human capital, a deterioration, almost 15 or 30 million children out of school. Most of the numbers are not looking good. So it is true what the ACF is talking about at the moment, and have been saying for the past couple of months or years. during this conversation, we need to extract what I call the whys and the hows. Because much as I agree with profound respect to the ACF, that there is need to push. The question is, who are we supposed to push? Much as there is a mandate given to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the moment to lead this country, and to whom much is given, much is expected, it is true. But then the proper, fair and objective question we should ask ourselves as Northerners is, are all the push, or is all the push supposed to go to the center, that is the president himself? Or do we need to redimension our push, quote unquote, or if you like, focus, so that we can properly dimension the issues and look at the right areas and push the right buttons or the right people for us to really get out of this? Like you said in your opening remarks, Femi, this is not just happening. What we are having is a crescendo, of something that has started many years ago. And we got to where we are today. What I think we should do, and of course I'm a Northerner, that how do we look at these things and know how we push correctly and properly, so that we move from mantras and talk to action, and not just actions to impacts. As we proceed, I will make contributions to that effect.
All right, Mallam. Part of the concerns raised by the Arewa Consultative Forum is the fact that resources in the north are being exploited, exploitation of resources. In your opinion, how exactly do you think that resources in the northern part of Nigeria are being exploited by the nation?
Well, that is a very vague question, if I may, Femi, because when you talk about exploitation of resources, I would like to respond pointedly to what is the context of ACF, because exploitation of resources could mean the plundering of the solid minerals by the economic saboteurs, banditry. Is it exploitation of resources by the political class? So, if you are going to deal with this properly, we need to focus on a one particular order. What are the grounds, or what is the grounds of ACF? With
the ACF didn't say. That's why I'm asking you. The ACF didn't say specifically, but since you're a Northerner, I just wanted to get your own opinion. Do you agree with that line of thought? The ACF didn't come out to say specifically that these are the resources being exploited.
Well, I would like ACF to be more pointed in that regard in their next communication, but I will try to address the issues. Exploitation of resources, everybody knows it is happening, from Zamfara to Niger, Sokoto, Kebbi, Borno, and all the other locations. Now we see what is happening, in Plateau and Benue. And I've said it many times that 65% of the base or the fundamental reason of insecurity, especially in northern Nigeria, is due to the natural resources there, the abundant solid minerals that are there, rare earth metals and precious stones and other resources that are there. This has been an issue for many years. We can see what has happened, or what is happening in Democratic Republic of Congo and other locations. But then beyond the plundering of the resources, that are being perpetrated by the economic saboteurs, there are also there's also the issue of other resources that are being plundered, by politicians and political class. So if ACF is talking about the plundering of the resources from the point of view of insecurity, yes, that has been happening, and it is happening, and it must be addressed. And it is not just a northern issue, it is a national issue, albeit it is the hotbed is northern Nigeria, I agree, especially with the resurgence of Boko Haram and the inflow of Lakurawas and other, what I call the criminal banditry enterprise that is emerging all over the place, taking over all the locations. And if you take a sample of all those locations, there are areas where there's a preponderance of natural resources. Our inability to effectively and consistently push back these elements and contain the situation is a matter that we need to address properly.
All right, Mallam, but don't you think, you also mentioned insecurity, don't you think the resources we're talking about here cannot be plundered without the cooperation of some of the northern leaders themselves? So don't you think they might be complicit in some way in this plundering of the resources?
Well, I wouldn't want to go into conjecture, Femi, because this is a very weighty allegation. But we all know speaking generally, that economic sabotage of this nature will never happen in any society without the collaboration of the state actors, quote and unquote, and also the people of that environment. Like in my language, they say, in Hausa, they say it is with the son of the soil that you can conquer that location. So it's true to that extent. So it is known to everybody that there are collaborators. My concern is including public figures, known public figures, even in the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. People have come to make these statements, but we have not been able to mention names. We have not been able to see arrests being made, to set example, and to have effective consequence management so that people will know that we are serious, as a people or as a government. So it still remains a mantra, like I said. The ACF and people and other people that are making these assertions should come out and be bold and mention names so that we explain the issues and be able to address them. Otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, this is just another, public speech that will be of no effect. We need to back our conversations with facts and figures, and when we do so, we give actionable proposals so that government will take action, and if they don't, we hold them responsible.
All right. Mallam Yusuf, the ACF chairman, called on the government to change its strategies to stop this devastation. And he said northern patience is running out and that government must act decisively. Two things there. Many persons will see that and say, is the ACF speaking on behalf of the North, threatening the president that do something, or you are pushing us, and even when they have not said what they will do. Do you see that as a subtle threat?
Well, threat is a compound word, Femi. I will take it from the context of they are trying to leverage their position. It goes without saying that Northern Nigeria comes with undeniable, I repeat, undeniable political numbers in the political permutations and combinations of this country. Nobody should take it for granted. So I think they are leveraging that. And if you are talking about threat within the context of build up to 2027 election, then I will agree to talk about threat. I don't. Apart from that, I wouldn't want to allude to any other form of
this is political, really?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, of course, it's political. These are people that are, of high standards and quality in this country, Femi. These are not people on the sidewalk of the road. I don't think they will make any allusion or any threat that will threaten the territorial integrity, peace, and unity of Nigeria. They are just trying to say that, okay, if you push out to the wall, in 2027, we are going to now leverage our numbers to ensure that you don't win election. I'm talking about, their points to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But I mean, for me, to make this conversation more, substantive and contextual is, yes, it is okay for any region. And I may say it's not only Northern Nigeria that is leveraging. I wrote in my column, Friday weekly back page column on the Nation newspaper 4 months ago about the power of identity politics. Northern Nigerians are not the only ones shouting anytime somebody that is not from their region is the president. Afenifere, ROPC, Ohanese Indigo, IPOB and others also, raise their voices when they feel it is right, albeit mostly when it is not the person from that region that is raising this voice. So what we are seeing today is actually what has happened when a northerner maybe is in the presidency and you have a pressure from southwest or south or southeast. And I talked about the danger, of this identity politics, to our national polity. It's not a matter of a northern-southern issue. But let me speak about the northern issue from the point of view as a northerner that is a progressive, that feel that we should move forward as a people. While we are rightly so leveraging this position to address these issues, with profound respect to our elders, brothers and sisters in the North, I think we also need to expand our view with regards to these fundamental issues. While I agree, the person at the center, the president, has a lot of responsibility because, like I said, to whom much is given, much is expected. I think we should be more strategic in our engagements to understand that there are some regional levers we need to pull. We have governors in the various states we also have other, authorities and institutions around, the traditional rulers, the religious leaders. What role are we supposed to play to ensure that we are able to make progress? And why I'm saying so is that not just long ago, we had a turn of the northern president, in order to be president, late President Muhammad Buhari, for 8 years. How did that really impact on the fortunes of northern Nigeria? And how did ACF and all of us are able to push or pressure President Muhammad Buhari on one hand, or the governors at subnationals, or the legislatures at federal and subnationals, to ensure that everybody did what he was supposed to do? How did we as thought leaders and the elites did and play our role? Let us not forget that members of the ACF and other pressure groups in the north, just like in the southwest and the south-south and the southeast, have had their role to play, either as presidents or governors or senators. What is interesting is the moment we leave office, we speak as if we have never been in that office. And I would like Nigerians to also look at the people talking and ask them the question. And that goes also to northern Nigerians. What did you do when it was your time? Can you give us your scorecard for you to have that justification to challenge the status quo today? That is very important for us. And as we speak further, I want to roll out some numbers for northern Nigerians to look at, so that while we are pressuring the federal government, we also are able to see where we are supposed to look. Otherwise, in the next 10 years, we will still be lamenting.
All right, Mallam. Part of the concerns raised by the ACF is insecurity in northern Nigeria. It's quite glaring. Every Nigerian can see it. Insecurity spread across northern Nigeria, places like Katsina, Zamfara, and of course, Benue, North Central, Plateau, and all that. Even a place like Borno, Sokoto, where the governor, Sokoto, where the governor has cried out over and over again that his territory is being taken over by terrorists. But quite notable is an Amnesty International report which revealed that about 10,217 people were killed within 2 years of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. 10,217 from northern Nigeria alone. Mallam, how do you respond to this? What exactly would you want the federal government to do decisively to address insecurity in northern Nigeria?
Thank you, Daniel. The federal government has a role to play, and they have been trying to an extent to do what they are supposed to do, but I feel there is need to upskill that strategy, because it appears to me there is a disconnect between the tactical activities we are seeing to an overarching strategy. Why I'm saying so is not just within the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We see at a point in time, some pushbacks. We are able to gain some ground. We are able to push these terrorists, out of some locations, and then they come back. But sustainability is very key. So while we are at it, we may have a strategy. A strategy is not what you tinker with every other day, but we should also work with a view to ensure there's sustainability. When we gain grounds, we shouldn't lose them again. There's issue of financial strain for us to support our defense, but I don't think that should be an excuse, because if you cannot defend our territorial integrity, then the country is on its way to become a failed state. Some areas in northern Nigeria, you have the flags of terrorists that have been foisted. They are collecting tax from people. So it is a very serious issue. I agree. But then we should also look at insecurity from a multidimensional perspective, Daniel and Femi. There are the critical socio-economic issues that have become the the genesis of these issues that were incubated over a period of time, that also we should also look at from a subnational perspective. What are the governors doing in ensuring they deliver the dividends of democracy? What are we doing with the issue of education? 65% or 60% of which the responsibility is on the table of our governors. When you talk about the primary school and the senior secondary school education, we have almajiris all over the place. We have not been able to contain them. We have not been able to keep our youths busy, to keep them productive. These are critical issues. So while federal government is fighting insecurity, we must make sure that we are reining in our youth that are actually the foot soldiers of these issues. because maybe they don't have options, or maybe we have forgotten them. So we need to start addressing that. I want to see summits by northern leaders while we are addressing the issue with federal government, to sit down and tell ourselves the truth. Right. Where did we drop the ball at the subnational? Those are very critical for us, apart from education issue of providing, supporting the welfare and well-being of people as subnationals. Those are very critical. If we don't do that, we may be dealing with insecurity from the kinetic perspective. From the non-kinetic perspective, as subnationals, we are not doing enough. The governors are not the only ones to do this. We all have a role to play. We have had cases where traditional rulers have been caught pants down in bed with terrorists, Femi and Daniel. So these are issues we need to expand our scope. We can keep the feet of federal government to fire to ensure they deliver, but we need to be honest with ourselves to say, how did we arrive at this? In the history of Nigeria, we have produced the highest number of heads of states and presidents. Right. But why are we still the most backward in terms of education, in terms of almost all the parameters of economic, socio-economic development? That is a poser for us over and beyond challenging whoever is in government, especially if it's not from our region.
Mallam Yusuf, you just taking those words out of my mouth to say the North in history is verifiable, has produced the highest numbers of leaders, especially as we know. And you made mention of something in your introductions that, the North must look inwards. Just a few minutes ago, you talked about numbers and figures. Now, the ACF, unlike other northern interest politicians, thought leaders that have been speaking up right now, you talk about the politics of identity and all of those things, that where were they? What did they do? Just in the immediate past, Muhammadu Buhari, God rest his soul, was there as president. What did they do? What do we have right now? And I'd like you to go straight right into that thought, because this morning, listening to you, many persons of good interest will know, and we want to maybe agree with you to say the North must look inwards. Let's compare the numbers. Where are we? What should we be doing? I'd like you to look into that quickly.
Thank you very much. Well, the numbers are there. I wouldn't even want to go to socio-economic numbers. I just want to give my my colleagues, my elders, brothers and sisters in the North, and everybody in Nigeria. This, by the way, it is not just a northern issue. Every region has this myopic way we look at ourselves. So while we are talking about the North today, people from other regions should take what I say and look at it as a mirror for themselves. But let's contextualize it to the North. Right. The question is for the ACF, for the elders, for us, the next line of leadership in Nigeria and the elites. Today, from 1960 to date, having produced the highest number of presidents in Nigeria, having been the key stakeholders in the political evolution of this country, how many banks are owned by Northern Nigerians? How many media houses are owned by Northern Nigerians? How many manufacturing or factories, apart from Ali Dangote and then Abdul Samad Isiaq Rabiu, how many industrialists do we have in the North? How many of the former governors from Northern Nigeria have a pure water factory where they have employed 10 people? All the governors, the ones that have done 8 years or 4 years, former senators, how many of them actually are employed labor? How many of them are actually having a scholarship system where they are supporting children from their own constituency with their own money or the money they have taken from us, for example? How many of us have, the financial institutions, the banks, the insurance companies, and all whatnot? These are the critical indicators, the key indicators that will tell us whether we are moving in the right direction or not. Today, almost everybody in Northern Nigeria, I'm talking about the masses, are on their own. Sometimes we, the elites, and I always talk about the conspiracy of the elites, always only shout to the high heavens when it comes to issues that affect our children and ourselves. How did we allow ourselves to slide into the abyss of almost 100 million or 70 million out of 133 million multidimensionally poor domiciled in Northern Nigeria? Is that the fault of a focal point leader that is called the president? Whether it is President Goodluck Jonathan, whether it's President Adua, or President Obasanjo, or President Buhari, or President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Why do we have to shout all the time for issues that also we have roles to play? It is only when we sit down and look at it from that perspective And I look at a former governor that was a governor maybe 15 years ago that had become a glorified personal assistant to a governor today, speaks volume with regards to how we are making progress as northern Nigeria or as Nigeria in general, because it's not just a northern factor issue. Now, if we are able to sit down and speak truth to ourselves from that perspective, and rather, when you are out of office, you become later day activists, but while you are in office, you block your ears and close your eyes, and people of North will start calling out these leaders. Let me land with this. Yes. In every administration, whether we like it or not, northern Nigerians are given opportunity to lead or to serve. Whether the number is enough or not is not the issue. Buhari was in government for 8 years. Whether the numbers are there or not on the issue. Presently, the Minister of Defense, the National Security Advisor, the Minister of Agriculture, the Minister Coordinating Minister of Health, these are critical portfolios. The Minister of Foreign Affairs are from northern Nigeria. So while we are addressing the issue, we should also expand that conversation. And I'm just not talking about the ruling party, because today it is APC that is the ruling party. Day before yesterday, it was PDP that was the ruling party. So we need to look at it from that context to say, are the elites actually playing games with us? We remember, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into power, the aggression or the pressure from the top is the people that are being sacked in CBN, relocation of headquarters to Lagos. Right. Is that the issue for the North? When 70% of the children in the CBN are children, our children, because I'm an elite, they are our children there. What about the children of shoe shiners and cobblers, and Okada riders, and people that are flying Accra on the street? Have we addressed their issues? When we have almost 70% of our schools dilapidated, our children are sitting on the floor, is that the responsibility of the federal government? When we have state governors that shut down schools for the entire month of Ramadan and tell the children to go and stay at home with Ramadan, where within the Islamic in constitution of Quran or Hadith are we told that children should go and stay at home in a place where you have over 10 million of children out of school? So these are the poses for us to address as northern Nigerians. But like I say also, the other regions are equally guilty of this aspect. We are more guilty because we make more noise and we are moving more backwards, even though we've had more opportunities than any other person.
All right, Mallam, very critical issues you've raised right there. We sincerely appreciate that. And I quite like your analogy when you talked about a former governor becoming a glorified personal assistant to a serving governor. That's quite comic. But my major concern, Mallam, part of the concerns raised by the ACF, which is quite glaring, you also alluded to that in your submission, is the rate of poverty in the North. The North is quite strategic. Of course, we have a lot of wealthy people in the North, but the divide is so much. What do you think, in your own opinion, as an elite, as a Northern elite, what can be done to bridge this gap, to bridge this divide? I've seen it firsthand. I've seen the level of poverty in Northern Nigeria. It's so much, sometimes you can almost not believe it, that from this same Northern Nigeria, we have billionaires, yet we have those who can barely eat, you have marginaries everywhere. So what exactly can the Northern elites do to bridge this gap? Because it's quite unfortunate. We've talked about weaponization of poverty. Most of these guys on the streets, all they need sometimes is just someone to call them together and give them food, and that's it. They are ready to kill and be killed for whoever feeds them. So what are you doing? What should the Northern elite be doing to bridge this gap, this very wide gap between the rich and the poor in Northern Nigeria?
I will call out on our political, religious, traditional leaders, thought leaders, intellectuals, the entire elites, to have a moment of introspection and think with the fear of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the end of the day, we'll all die. And when we die, we'll account for our deeds. 70% of the leaders from North, and indeed from Southern Nigeria, came from humble backgrounds. And that is what breaks my heart, Femi and Daniel. The fact that they forget where they are coming from. The fact that about 60 years ago, 50 years ago, they were given opportunities by our vanguards of liberation, the likes of Sage Awolowo, the likes of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, the likes of Samuel Tafawa Balewa and others. And they have forgotten that, they have thrown it away and abandoned the people. They were at the same level with the Almajiris of today. and they were given those opportunities. And those that gave them the opportunities without thinking twice. So I think we should start having a summit and a conversation to, first of all, the way ACF is pressurizing the federal government, the ACF should also pressurize the governors, the senators, the House of Reps members, and start asking them what have they done, what are they doing, and also advising them what they should do. And all of them, and all of us, including myself, that have roles to play. I'm doing my role, by the way, but it does not exonerate me. We should all have some sense of responsibility to say, I am doing this much. I should be able to say it in the church, in the mosque, in my community. Leadership is not just about having a political office. Leadership is a responsibility given to us by Almighty God to play our roles at our various times. If I was a minister, or I was a governor, or I was a manager of a bank, I have something to contribute to that society. So waiting for a president to come to our village to ensure there is water, I think we are moving borderline being irresponsible and suffering from what I call, which is becoming a norm in Nigeria. I say Nigerians are suffering from two inflictions. We need to deal with it. First of all is dependency syndrome. You see a former minister still not being able to pay the bill because you have been dependent solely on the state. You can't even generate anything. We are also suffering from what I call the Stockholm syndrome. The masses are so ingrained in identity politics that they have fallen in love with their captors. And you can go to psychology and read what is called Stockholm syndrome. So on one hand, the masses are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. They are in love with their captors. If you talk against their leader, they will have you for lunch, even though they have not eaten for 3 days. And then the leaders are suffering from dependency syndrome. That is why when their interests are affected, they shout to high heavens and say the region is affected, when indeed they have had roles to play to ensure the region didn't slide, or it's not sliding where it's sliding, whether it's the southeast, south, south, southwest, or indeed in this particular topic of today, the north. We need to address those issues. Unless we do that, looking at a president every year will start looking as if we are not serious. We become lamenters while the issues would not go away. So hold the government to account at federal, but hold the governments to account as subnational, and we should also hold ourselves to account.
All right.
80% of the members at the League of Northern Democrats, ACF and others, we are ministers, we are governors, we are thought leaders, we've had opportunities. We must also be responsible for what is happening today so that all of us together will move forward as a people and as a country.
Yeah, we are the home stretch right now. You have raised many critical points this morning, that needs to even be expanded further. As you have said, the North must look inwards, the elites must do better. And so that, using your word, the North will not just be perpetual lamenters. The governors have a role to play according to you, and the elite as well. Now, you talked about even, it's not just about the numbers, but even the North have been represented. This cabinet, you made mention of those ones earlier, and even 2 former governors are in charge of defense, and they are northern governors, Matawale and former Governor Badaru. The Minister for Budget and Planning is a former governor. He's still in this cabinet as well. And so you are saying they should do better. No, they have been meeting. ACF met just a day or 2 days ago. There was a meeting that was held in Kaduna at the Arewa House, 29th to 30th of July. They have been meeting. But the thing is, just like you said, what have they been talking about? You mentioned the Stockholm syndrome on part of the masses and the elite as well, or being stuck on being fed by the people. Now, my final question for you this morning is, if the elites will not do what they are supposed to do, what can the masses do? The Northern Nigeria have been privileged to live there for like 6 years, and personal affiliations, they respect their religious leaders very well. They respect their traditional rulers very well. Now, these institutions with the masses, what can they do if actually the elites are not doing what they are supposed to do? What options do they have?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. First of all, I've said it many times. No state in Nigeria has any business being poor. And therefore, Nigeria has no business being in the current socio-economic squalor. Every state in Nigeria, indeed every state in northern Nigeria, can be a country of its own. Singapore is not as big as Lagos. United Arab Emirates is not as big as Ondo State. These are states that are massive with natural resources. So we don't have excuse, right? But moving forward, what is very essential is for us to note While the masses may be helpless from the point of view of either lack of education or hunger, like you talked about weaponization of poverty, a lack of what I call unity, because even the North, much as we try to give the impression we are united, are becoming more fragmented due to identity politics. Now, if that is the case, I want to remind our leaders and all of us, the elites, of what happened and what broke the camel's back that led to the Russian Revolution. I want to remind us to what happened that broke the camel's back that led to the French Revolution, Russian Revolution, and just of recent, what happened when that poor guy was molested and harassed by the police in the streets of Tunis, in Tunisia, that led to him setting himself ablaze and catalyzed the Arab Spring. The world has never been the same. Tunisia went down, Libya went down, Egypt went down, it went into the Middle East, and then to the Sudan. What I'm saying is this: the natural law of providence will play out to the extent that what happened during the French Revolution or the Arab Spring will happen to us, that these people will rise against us in ways and means we cannot understand. The total number of the armed forces in Nigeria, Femi and Daniel, are not up to 1 million in a country of over 250 million. I'm not calling for an uprising, but I'm calling our attention to a trigger of people when pushed to the wall, and they have to react according to the laws of motion by Newton. For every action, there's a reaction. We don't want to get to that point where people will capitulate. We don't want to get to a point where you cannot even drive on the street, that people will have you for lunch for driving on the street. We had not just long ago in Central Africa, somewhere in Central Africa, where the citizen will see somebody riding a four-wheel drive and be shouting, our hospital, stoning the car, which means the money that they are using to buy the Jeep can actually build a hospital. We are getting there. So I'm sounding an alarm to the elites. We are not having a free path. We are building a combustible situation that may explode in our faces in ways and means we cannot be able to contain. Power has been given to us, but it is not absolute, and it is not our sole propriety. We should remember our brothers and sisters that are poor. We should take everybody on board and stop taking people for granted. And this last message is not just for Northern Nigeria, it is for the entire political elite and the entire elite of Nigeria, North and South.
Thank you very much. Great conversation we've had this morning. And just like I said, many of those points needs to be talked about, even in further interviews. And we'll hope we'll have you, in the coming time and days. Public intellectual, policy advisor and strategist, Mallam Baba Yusuf. Thank you for coming on this morning and for making your debut on Morning Spring.
Thank you for having me, Femi and Daniel. It's a pleasure, and anytime, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Many questions raised.
Absolutely. Quite an interesting, an eye-opening conversation right there. And I quite like the critical issues he raised coming from a northern elite himself. I really appreciate that. He is someone who has seen beyond the normal narrative being pushed by the average northerner. He spoke from a position of knowledge and experience, addressing the real issues, and of course challenging the northerners to rise up and also take responsibility. Right. Excuse me. So thank you so much for that. Quite an insightful conversation right there. It's been a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining us. So you, our distinguished viewers, it's a pleasure having you join us again. Don't forget, you can always check out this conversation on our social media platforms. Join us again tomorrow for a fresh edition of Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Emeka Daniel is my name. Do have a fantastic day. Good morning.
Thank you. And the platforms, especially YouTube, is at Western Spring Television NG. Femi Ojo is my name. Great shout out to the production team today. That is the North or the South. Let's do the needful. Time is what we don't have on our hands. Femi Ojo is my name. Again, I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. Bye.